is by no stretch the most important atrocity of the self-destroying regime of the insane dictator Trump. It's not even the most important right now, but it may be the most symbolic. Trump, again, repeatedly, is still trying to disappear Jackie Robinson, to erase Jackie Robinson, to memory hole Jackie Robinson, to relegate him using those hated letters Trump does not understand and can barely spell, but which in his animal instincts way he has used to exploit and manipulate and use to rebuild segregation and begin to build apartheid in this nation. DEI, which, if you did not notice, replaced CRT, probably because DEI was easier for Trump to say. And the scum who work for Trump are boasting about trying to disappear Jackie Robinson. Again, in a new way, newer than the one they were trying to disappear him with yesterday. And even when caught and forced finally to retreat from their racism, to restore the page honoring Jackie Robinson at the Department of Defense website that they erased, even after they were forced by public outrage to restore that page, they are still boasting about erasing Jackie Robinson in a new way, and boasting about it in a way that is even more racist than their original white supremacist trash racism. Boasting about first disappearing Jackie Robinson, and then, when they restored him, demeaning his memory and diminishing the meaning of his life and his sacrifice. The page on the Department of Defense website that dryly recounted Robinson's military service for this country during World War II was broken, eliminated, erased. The page was among those detailing sports heroes who served this nation. The page, as discovered by the digital editor of the New Mexico News, Matthew Reichbach, then amplified by the baseball writer Craig Calcaterra, finally written up by ESPN and NBC News and others, it was deleted, and the link redirected you to defense.gov/news/features/stories/DEI Sports. It actually read DEI Sports, and it produced, when you clicked on it, a 404 page not found. Jackie Robinson, memory hold as surely as it was an example in George Orwell's 1984. And worse yet, they went about boasting about it. John Ullyot, another right-wing press spokesman, who has chosen a photo of himself that suggests that during the military part of his career, he had what we used to call shell shock behind the eyes. A former columnist at the disgraced Town Hall and the Federalist, John Ullyot, now Pentagon press secretary, finally, yesterday afternoon, gave NBC News a comment about the disappearing of Jackie Robinson. Quote, as Secretary Hegseth has said, DEI is dead at the Defense Department. Discriminatory equity ideology is a form of woke cultural Marxism that has no place in our military. It divides the force, erodes unit cohesion, and interferes, cleverly divides, erodes, and interferes are capitalized, with the service's core war-fighting mission. We are pleased by the rapid compliance across the department with the directive removing DEI content from all platforms. A reminder that the DEI content that this bastard Ullyot is referring to is the story, as dryly told as imaginable, of when Jackie Robinson served in the U.S. Army before he summoned the courage to go ahead and break through what was then all-white baseball, all-white sports, essentially all-white America. We are pleased by the rapid compliance across the department with the directive removing DEI content from all platforms. This Ullyot continued, in the rare cases that content is removed either deliberately or by mistake, that is out of the clearly outlined scope of the directive. We instruct the components and they correct the content accordingly. That is a long way from Mr. Ullyot of saying that America is a white nationalist country now. Jackie Robinson didn't count anymore, and they had gotten rid of Jackie Robinson's memory. Happily, this country is not dead. Yet, all hell broke loose. It broke loose when Donald Trump decided to throw Jackie Robinson to the white supremacist mob and the racists and the other white garbage who must find an excuse for the failures of their own existences on this planet. Trump, through his minions, memory-holed Jackie Robinson less than a month before Jackie Robinson Day, the celebration of the integration of Major League Baseball, probably the most important event in this country in the lifetime of this emperor with no soul. When he dies and his years are reviewed, the most important event during the lifespan of Trump will be Jackie Robinson. So much hell broke loose about the memory holding of Jackie Robinson and the Navajo Code Talkers, whose page was also taken down at DOD, and the Tuskegee Airmen, whose page was also taken down, and the Marines at Iwo Jima, that late yesterday the Trumpists had to back off. 82 minutes after that first boastful, dirty, Ku Klux Klanish statement from this Ullyot, this thug Ullyot. 82 minutes later, enough hell had broken loose over the life of Ullyot that a second statement from him came, and I would argue he managed to make it more racist than the first. This is the second statement. Everyone at the Defense Department loves Jackie Robinson, as well as the Navajo Code Talkers, the Tuskegee Airmen, the Marines at Iwo Jima, and so many others. We salute them for their strong and, in many cases, heroic service to our country, full stop. We do not view or highlight them through the prism of immutable characteristics, such as race, ethnicity, or sex. We do so only by recognizing their patriotism and dedication to the war-fighting mission, like every other American who has worn the uniform. This scum Ullyot then repeats the smear against the concept of DEI, calling it discriminatory equity ideology, which I read you previously, which of course is Trump thinking he's clever by making the acronym mean something else, and also a way of Trump stopping himself and others in his administration from using the N-word. Ullyot boasts about the speed with which DEI was removed from government websites, again, and by terrified corporations and the other cowards of American life. Today, when money means everything and dignity and self-respect mean nothing, to say nothing of reality meaning nothing. His statement concludes, in the rare cases that content is removed, either deliberately or by mistake, that is out of the clearly outlined scope of the directive. We instruct the components and they correct the content, which he said in the first statement, then adds, so it recognizes our heroes for their dedicated service alongside their fellow Americans, period. So the new message is, it is not enough for us to try to disappear Jackie Robinson, and since you stopped us, we will make it worse. We must deny Jackie Robinson his role as the most courageous man in sports history, perhaps in American history, or among them at least. Jackie Robinson cannot be viewed any longer through, quote, the prism of immutable characteristics such as race, ethnicity, or sex. Even though race is a human invention and nothing scientific, and ethnicity changes as the maps do, and sex is one of 50 different genders. The prism of immutable characteristics such as race, ethnicity, or sex. only by recognizing their patriotism and dedication to the war-fighting mission. You heard that. Jackie Robinson is no longer black. He's just part of the war-fighting mission. He's just another sort of human robot without identity or meaning who once served. Because all that matters is the uniform. And the Navajo Code Talkers aren't Navajo. And the soldier at Iwo Jima, Ira Hayes, isn't Native American. And the Tuskegee Airmen are just airmen. And the page at the Arlington National Cemetery website for Technical Sergeant Medgar Evers still isn't back up because Medgar Evers is just gone. At this rate, they will be digging Medgar Evers up and moving him somewhere else. Because if it is forbidden to recognize somebody for being black, for overcoming, or being native, or being transgender, or being any of 1,000 other things that have caused people lifetimes and generations and histories of pain in this country at the hands of white people like Donald Trump. If it is forbidden to recognize somebody for being black and single-handedly, in this case, integrating a racist white world, then there can be no further racism. The problem is solved. If Jackie Robinson isn't officially black, you don't have to ask why there are fewer blacks in Major League Baseball today when there are nearly twice as many teams than there were in 1960. Or why in his fourth year on the Dodgers, Jackie Robinson already had 2 black teammates. But today's Dodgers star, Mookie Betts, is the only African American on his Dodger team. Did Trump do this himself? No. He can barely operate a toilet, let alone a computer or a website. But he put an unstable creature at the head of the Pentagon named Hegseth, and Hegseth either ordered this or put the people in place who did. And if they did not do it manually, they did it using, Elon Musk's computer systems. Elon Musk, apartheid Clyde, tries to erase or help in the erasure of Jackie Robinson. Trump and those around him are memory-holing Jackie Robinson. They are still doing it even after getting caught doing it and pretending to stop doing it. And with him, all he represents, especially the end of the codified Jim Crow world of the 20th century and the racism without which people like, say, Donald Trump's father and Donald Trump's children might have starved, metaphorically or literally. The playing field is not level. The playing field is tilted. It always has been. It has been tilted for me. I like to think I would have succeeded anyway. I don't know. I know Jackie Robinson succeeded anyway. There are 2 final ironic notes to this. Last month, in his announcement of his moronic idea about the National Garden of Heroes, Trump said one of the statues had to be of Jackie Robinson. And another had to be of Medgar Evers. Makes no sense at first until you remember that statues tend not to be more than one color. They tend to be monochrome, don't they? And the statues would be all light gray, perhaps. And all the white guys would look white. And all the black guys would look white. The National Garden of Heroes, they would all look white. The second irony is that there is a private firm obviously taking its cue from Trump, as so many have. Taking its cue from Trump and things like the attempt to disappear Jackie Robinson yesterday, twice. The ongoing attempt to disappear Jackie Robinson, to memory hole Jackie Robinson, to whitewash Jackie Robinson. This private firm has changed the wording of its mission statement. Under workplace inclusivity at its webpage, it used to have its logo next to a nicely graphically matching reference to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then it read, mission and vision, to support and sustain a diverse and inclusive culture for a diverse and growing base. That message has now dropped the reference to diversity, equity, and inclusion at the top of the page. The heading simply reads now, mission and vision. And the content, to support and sustain an inclusive culture. The word diverse is gone. For a growing base. No longer diverse and growing base. Who beat Trump to the punch and self-censored? Who did not correct or even try to correct the whitewashing of African Americans in its own field? Who dropped diversity in the time of the failed Trumpist full whitewashing of Jackie Robinson? The company in question that did that at its own website is Major League Baseball. Sports racism stories actually came in bunches this week. Insane dictator Trump has just paused $175 million in federal funding to the University of Pennsylvania because one of Penn's swimmers was Leah Thomas, a transgender woman. And we all know the only reason Riley Gaines is a bad swimmer is Leah Thomas was once a man. But more importantly, Penn is, of course, Trump's alma mater. I think the response at the university should be obvious. Penn should now pause Trump's degree. Unless, of course, he never really earned it in the first place. And there was a second sports story. You may have heard this too. When he got on the phone with Putin, among the topics of conversations between the two dear leaders was a proposed tournament between the Russian stars of the KHL, the Continental Hockey League, and the American stars of North America's National Hockey League. I'm just guessing here, but I'm assuming, like everything else involving Russia and America, Putin has told Trump to make sure to fix it so Russia wins. You will have noticed this episode is a little ragged. There were no second takes. I apologize for the stumbles, and it will be a little briefer today. I'm afraid the throat problem that I referenced on Sunday and Monday took a turn for the worse, although it is finally improving, and we know what it is, and it's not serious. It's just, I'd like to stop talking now. I expect a full episode Monday when perhaps we can analyze the other and larger facts, including the one that, no, since Trump and his madmen are ignoring court orders and judges now and ignoring court orders about the court orders they had already ignored, no, we are not facing a constitutional crisis. We are already in one. But for now, still of interest here in an all-new edition of Countdown, yes, there is an actual mainstream newscaster who has already swallowed the Kool-Aid. His third complete pitcher of the Kool-Aid, if I count correctly. He is the one on CNN gladly, willingly, voluntarily calling it the Gulf of America because I know this guy. This guy is not giving up the money just for the principle of journalistic ethics or the preservation of freedom in the United States of America. Not with the money he's making. and he never has before. His identity next. This is Countdown.
This is Countdown with Keith Olbermann.
Believe it or not, there are still more new idiots to talk about, and apparently still enough of my voice to talk about them with. The daily roundup of the miscreants, morons, and Dunning-Kruger effect specimens who constitute today's other worst persons in the world. I might add, I have an excellent ear, nose, and throat doctor who, I believe it or not, sound 75% better than I did before I went to see her yesterday morning. Anywho, she'll never be on this list. Here are the nominees. The bronze worse, Anna R. Matson, self-described as a market researcher and political researcher. I don't know what that is, but if it produces content like this, keep going. I'm just going to say it, she wrote. Ooh, what is that about? I'm just going to say it. What is happening to Tesla / Tesla owners right now is 10 times worse than January 6th. Okay, we could probably bail out there. Actually, remember, it could have been worse. She could have said, it's 10 times worse than 9/11, because people have said that. 10 times worse than Nagasaki. Shortly after posting about a Tesla protest I saw while driving mine, I was called a, quote, Yahtzee, and then doxed. I'm going to have to, when I feel a little better, research this to discover whether or not people are actually using the noun Yahtzee as some kind of insult, or if simply somebody saw her describe herself as a Tesla driver and went, Yahtzee, as in, you know, you win, you identify the, okay. Also, I talked to someone today about doing an interview in Detroit, and I was told not to bring my car because Teslas are being set on fire and vandalized. Yes, as you know, the entirety of the nation is ablaze with Teslas. This is happening on literally every street, and when I say literally, I mean not even figuratively. Millions and millions of Americans have lost their lives to blazing Teslas. Being set on fire and vandalized. Will somebody think of the Teslas? This is absolutely unacceptable behavior. Many elected Democrats are inciting this violence. Name one. Name one, Anna R. Matson, whoever the F you are. I was called a Yahtzee. Okay. Every one of them should denounce this behavior immediately. You are putting all of us in danger. I'm going to make an effort here. I hope you appreciate it. I hope Anna R. Matson appreciates it. All of us in danger! The world has been endangered by people yelling Yahtzee at Tesla owners and then doxing them and then lighting their cars on fire. She was doxed. Her bio links to her website. Her website gives you a form to use to send her messages and to apply to be a guest on her podcast. Exactly how non-doxed were you living your life anyway, Anna R. Matson? And it's 10 times worse than January 6th. I would like to point this fact out. Tesla owners, and especially Tesla Cybertruck owners, and especially the guy who makes all of them, they all fall apart faster than do Tesla Cybertrucks. The runner-up worser, Justin Eichhorn, Minnesota State Senator. He introduced a bill last Friday, I think, saying Trump derangement syndrome is an actual mental illness now in the state of Minnesota. Last Friday, he's addressing mental illnesses and presumably, you can be officially diagnosed with it. You can be, forcibly institutionalized with it. while the next thing that happened to him has been going on, I guess he's been given a lot of time to think about the implications of what he meant by that, because on Monday, per the NBC account, a Minnesota state senator is facing calls to resign after he was arrested and accused of arranging to solicit a teenage girl for prostitution. What does that say? Does that say illegal immigrant on here? Does that say Democrat on here? Does that say athlete on here? What is it? No, it says a Minnesota state senator, 40-year-old Republican. Here it is. Justin Eichhorn, a Republican, thought he was talking to a 17-year-old girl when he arranged a meetup in Bloomington, a suburb of Minneapolis, police said, but he was actually communicating with an undercover detective. Eichhorn arrived at the location in a pickup truck. This is a man of romance, and was arrested Monday, quote, without incident, Bloomington police said. Unclear if he'd retained an attorney. I mean, if you're going to retain an attorney at this point, you better meet them in person, Justin. Senate office did not immediately respond to a request for comment. I don't know. Maybe he can get Elon Musk's peons to erase his webpage for him. Imagine Justin's surprise when the woman he tried to solicit prostitution from, which, however you feel about it, is illegal, and he thought she was 17, which is much more illegal, when it turned out, no, she was a cop. Is it Trump derangement syndrome you want to make an actual mental illness, or is it Trump is deranged syndrome and taking all of you bastards with him syndrome? Justin. By the way, who do you think is laughing loudest in this story? I'm guessing it is the incumbent Minnesota state senator that Eichhorn defeated for his District 5 Senate seat, which he's now going to obviously lose soon or late. The incumbent Mr. Eichhorn defeated in 2016 was named Tom Saxhaug. S-A-X-H-A-U-G, Saxhaug. He probably has not stopped laughing since Monday. But the winner, the worst, Jake Tapper. There are times when television networks turn into the Cambodia of modern American media, where everything goes wrong in a, if not idyllic, then at least functional operation, and it turns into hell. And you're eating the bark off of trees, and you're, moving millions of people to places where they can't live, and you're piling up the skulls of the dead. That's CNN. MSNBC is a mess. It's not nearly as big of a mess as CNN is. CNN is on its second worst president in a row. And the ones before them, they weren't that hot either. The winner of this award, Jake Tapper, according to Oliver Darcy in his superb newsletter, Status, he wrote it this way. As CNN was covering the return of the stranded astronauts, the ones who were doxxed because they were riding in a Tesla spacecraft, Jake Tapper repeatedly referred to the body of the water they touched down in as the Gulf of America, while also saying others refer to it as the Gulf of Mexico. Yep, I checked. Jake Tapper talking about the Gulf of America as if that were a thing. Why did he do this? Why did he go on CNN and announce it's the Gulf of America like a good little Trump whore? Well, why did he go on CNN and announce after the election? I think it's important to point out that the Trump-Vance campaign in 2024 was a very disciplined campaign and did a decent job of depicting Trump as somebody who was within the realm of normalcy. Why would you say that? Especially since we were still talking then, 3,000 Trump scandals ago, about how they had lied and made up the story of Haitian immigrants eating pets in Ohio. Why would you do that? After they made up the story about the Haitian immigrants eating pets in Ohio, and after Trump lied about Project 2025 and he lied about Musk, He lied about deporting Americans who are here illegally. He lied about solving the Ukraine war on day one. He lied about the economy. He lied about bringing down prices. He lied about bringing down the prices of eggs. He lied about Musk. He lied about everything that he could possibly lie about. And this is all in one morning. Why? Why would you say something like that? Well, why didn't he fact-check Trump at the debate last summer? Do you remember that? Anybody remember that? They just let Trump lie for an hour and a half. I mean, the Biden part of it was bad enough, but the real headline there remains they gave an hour and a half of airtime for Donald Trump to just lie. And not the complicated ones like what he's going to do in the future, but lie about facts that were easily disprovable, the way ABC did it. Why didn't he do that? Well, sir, because the Ankler, which is a Hollywood website that you may or may not have heard of, reported that last October, after the cutbacks at CNN, the 300th this century, I think that's right, cutback at CNN, they told poor Jake Tapper that he could not get a raise. That if he wanted to stay, they'd give him a new 3-year contract, but he'd have to scrape by on the pittance they were giving him then. $7 million a year, but not a penny more. $7 million for a show that's not even in prime time and doesn't have much of an audience at a network that does not make very much money off of its television product anymore. And could use that money to hire, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 people who could do as badly at night as the people they have on the air at night now. $7 million a year, but not a penny more. Oh, we're not going to give you a cut. Why don't we? But I mean, I might as well suggest demanding you fact check people. Let me explain what it means to make money like that. Jake Tapper has been at CNN since he came back from ABC in 2013. I don't know what he was making at ABC, but let's say he was making $1 million or $2 million a year. But he's been making more than that since he went back to CNN in 2013, and certainly the last 3 or 4 years he's been making $7 million or roughly, and he's going to do that for the next 3 years. So that's like $49 or $50 million right there. Let me explain this to you. When Bill O'Reilly got fired by Fox, somebody asked me, well, what does he do now? Where is he going to make that kind of money doing? I said, he doesn't have to make that kind of money. If you've been at that job making that kind of money, lesser amounts in previous years, but proportionately that kind of money, and if you reach your 20th year in an organization making $18 million a year, if you don't have enough money to last you the rest of your life, you've done it completely wrong. You must have been burning cash, to light candles with. And the same is true with Jake Tapper. If you're sitting on $49 million over the last 4 years and the next 3 years, that is enough for the rest of your lifetime and your family's lifetime and your at least next generation of your family's lifetime. A little investment here or there makes it even easier. But unless you're planning to be, a 3,000-year-old man. I mean, I had one day in 2011, one 24-hour period of time where I signed the deal to leave NBC after they breached my contract. And then the next day I signed the contract to go to Current TV, which we've been negotiating all that time. And those 2 contracts were worth $67 million. Guess what? I was 52 years old. I didn't need to make another dollar in my lifetime. Doesn't mean you have to stop, but it does mean you no longer have to say, well, I better make every dollar I can. No! You don't have to make every dollar you can. You have already. You can go back to your own principles if you remember what they are. So Jake Tapper has enough money to last him the rest of his life comfortably and enough to get a job somewhere else. If they're demanding that he do things like call it the Gulf of America or other things that would please the Trump whores, if you're doing that, if you're willing to sell yourself like a hooker, call that Minnesota state senator, for God's sakes. Do something honorable. TV news. $7 million a year to call it the Gulf of Borscht. $7 million a year to not fact-check Donald Trump when he lies for an hour and a half on your air. But here's the problem. Many people making that much money, or not even that much money, get addicted to the idea of making the money, and suddenly it's never enough. I want more, I must have more, because I've discovered it is my only identity. If I don't make $7 million a year, if I only make $5 million a year, am I still a man? This is the way many of them think. And the women making that kind of money, too. Only they would presumably say, am I still a woman? That's, I think, the only change, the only difference. Soon, $7 million is not enough. It's never enough, and you never get comfortable, and you never say, well, I'm going to make decisions based on what's right. And you stop thinking, what's the right thing here? And you start thinking, well, you stop thinking not what would Murrow do here, or what would George Clooney playing Murrow do here. You stop even asking yourself, what would I do here? Or what would I, in an earlier form of my life when I was a kid trying to get into this business, what would I do here? You stop asking it that way. You simply ask, what do my bosses want me to do here in order for them to keep giving me the $7 million? And then you're crossed off the journalism list. There is no amount of sackcloth and or ashes available to make it possible for you to ever be considered a journalist again. You are then moved into a category called $7 million whore. Because the next thing you know, you're not fact-checking Trump. You're crediting Trump's campaign for making him look honest. You're calling it the Gulf of America because you know Trump will find out about it and be pleased, and the message will get back to your boss, and your boss, the Cockney that they brought in to replace the non-Cockney who cocked up the whole place, he will say, that's very good, Jake. Here's another $7 million, Governor. They won't take your $7 million away, and you will not be standing there naked saying, I make no money. All I do is a podcast. As opposed, by the way, I might add, to the alternate feeling when you stop making that kind of money, or I might add more. When you stop making that kind of money and you suddenly go, nobody owns me. I can say what I want. And if they don't, for some reason, let me keep doing it here, I can go over there to some other room and do it there, too, instead. Jake's lost. But at least CNN is wasting $7 million. I look at it positively, as you know. Jake Tapper. Gulf of America? So we can just change proper names now whenever we feel like it? So I don't have to call you Jake Tapper anymore? I can just call you Jake Schmuck? Jake Schmuck. 2 days. Other. Worst. Person. And Noah! I've done all the damage I can do here. That is quite literally true. Thank you for listening. Brian Ray and John Philip Chanel, the musical directors of Countdown, arranged, produced, and performed most of our music. Mr. Chanel handled orchestration and keyboards. Mr. Ray was on the guitars, bass, and drums. It was produced by TKO Brothers. Our satirical and pithy musical comments are by the best baseball stadium organist ever, Nancy Faust. The sports music is the Olbermann theme from ESPN2, written by Mitch Warren Davis, courtesy of ESPN Inc. Other music arranged and performed by the group No Horns Allowed. My announcer today was my friend Stevie Van Zandt. I asked Stevie to do this for a particular reason. You know what his voice sounds like? That's how my voice feels. Everything else was, as ever, my fault, including my complaining about myself. That's Countdown for today, just 1,403 days until the scheduled end of his lame duck and lame-brained term, unless Musk removes Trump sooner, or the actuarial tables do. The next scheduled countdown is Thursday. As always, bulletins as the news warrants. Remember, impeach Trump. It won't work now. It will, however, win the Democrats the midterms, if there are midterms, and get rid of Schumer. Till next time, I'm Keith Olbermann. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, and good luck.